Hi, it's Cecily with Revival Nutrition and Health here with another Tuesday's Truth. I'm going to roll two truths into one today because I know that I've been absent and I do apologize. I've been very busy. I traveled a little bit to one super intriguing and exciting symposium all about the microbiome that I'll share some tidbits here and there as time goes on. But today, I really think it's important. I want to step back and I want to share with you two truths that I believe are really connected. The first comes from this question that keeps coming up, and rightfully so. The question that I get from a lot of clients and potential clients that I just talked to on the phone is, can my body really heal? And this is a great question. I think a lot of doubt comes into our mind when we do not feel well. And that doubt comes from fear. But here's what I want you to know is that I do absolutely believe that the body can heal itself given the right conditions. What are those conditions? The conditions are going to be vastly different for every person. And I do not, I wholeheartedly believe that there's not one modality that will completely fix, everybody. I think it's multifactorial. And so, you have to look at what you're putting in your body. Absolutely. How are you handling stress? We can't avoid stress, but how do we handle stress? How do we get that energy out of the body so it doesn't manifest into disease in the body? How's our sleep? There's so many things to consider when we think about health and wellness. But today, since I'm a nutritionist, I'm going to focus on this aspect of nutrition. So here's my second truth, and this is, I think, the hard truth, is that healing the body, it takes time and patience, perseverance. It takes being able to make it through really, really, really tough days and what we would perceive as sacrifice. So if we just take a step back and let me talk about this from a nutritional aspect, when I see a lot of people with inflammatory bowel disease, also irritable bowel syndrome, lots of chronically ill people that their digestive system is almost at the heart of what's going on. So what does that mean? That means that we have to look at, one of the very first things that I do is I ask all my clients to send me a food journal, right? So it's like looking at 7 to 10 days of what's their normal eating habits. And it's super important to not lie to me or lie to your practitioner. We really want to know, what's your rhythm like? What have you been putting in your body? This is not about judgment. This is about helping. This is about getting to a place where we can tell, what needs to come out, what needs to go in to really get the body well. And so looking at this food journal, it helps us to get a clear picture of, like I just said, what needs to change. But I can tell you this, is that if you're working with me at least, but I think I could say pretty confidently that if you're working with any type of other nutritionist that's working with kind of this holistic view and more a natural view of healing the body, that you're almost certainly going to have to take some things out of your diet. And then you're probably also going to have to put some foods into your diet. And so what's the end result there? And I'm speaking from personal experience here. The end result is that a lot of times people will feel angry, totally normal, sad. It's almost, some people actually go through I don't know how many stages of grief there are, but all of those stages of grief when we start pulling food out of their diet. And I just want to add too that pulling these foods out of the diet doesn't mean that you're never ever in your life going to get to eat these foods again. In fact, the idea is that we heal the body and that we slowly start to add in a far more diversified diet. There's benefits to so many foods out there. And so temporarily we take some things out, let the body heal, and then we add back in. And but what happens when we take things out? The emotions can just go in every direction. Um, and I can recall, I don't know if I've ever said this out loud here, but I can recall literally being on the floor. The first year that I was trying to change, that I was taking all these foods out of my diet, there were days I was literally on the floor crying, real tears, by the way, not just these crocodile tears like, oh, poor me. No, I was full of anger. I was full of sadness. I was full of resentment, which brings me to, sometimes I would, and I've heard this from my clients too. This is why I think this is a cool topic to talk about today, because I think if you're out there and you have inflammatory bowel disease or some sort of digestive issue where you're trying to fix it with food, you may totally relate to this. But you walk into the grocery store, and we know that the grocery store is packed full of things that are not going to do our body well, right? All of the packaged foods, the highly processed foods, those things are made with what I call lab created things that are not food, that the body can't even really take up and use as energy. And so we're in the grocery store, you've got your basket, and maybe you can make it through the grocery store. You're going around the outsides where all of the fresh food is, and then you make it to the checkout stand. I always think, gosh, this checkout stand. If I could literally be the only one at the checkout stand, it would have made my life so much easier in the beginning, because what I automatically did was I scanned through everyone's grocery basket. And I started thinking bad things about them. And I started thinking bad things about myself because I couldn't have those things. And if I'm judging this person, but I want those things in the basket, what's wrong with me? Well, if you've had this experience, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. This is just typical reactions and emotions to change. But what I really want you to take home here is that it is hard. Right? That was the truth. That was the second truth, is that this is super hard to do. If we're looking at healing the body, we have to do something different than we did to not be well. And change is hard, and especially with food, because food is everywhere, right? And food is very social. And so, you have parties that you go to, or you have people that you meet at a restaurant, and they're choosing dessert, some amazingly delicious looking cake, 3-layer cake. Regardless of this, the main thing that I want you to know is that what seems like an enormous sacrifice, an enormous punch in the gut, this huge change in reality, that you can't have certain things, that passes. And the first thing that I would say, a good tip, is I try never to focus on what I can't have. I try always to focus on this huge list of things that I can have. That would be my number one tip here. Because the brain automatically goes to what's the most emotional feeling, the highest emotion. And so when we take things out, that makes us really angry, and like we talked about, all of these negative feelings. So it does take time. So you do have to be patient, and you just kind of have to persevere, like I talked about. But eventually, the switch is going to flip, and you're going to start feeling better. You're going to start seeing results. Your symptoms are going to get better. And this will not seem like it's all for nothing. You will become amazingly proud of yourself. I can recall a moment in time when I got past the madness, and I stepped back and I looked at what I had achieved. And I thought, I would have never thought I could do this, because this is so hard. So I was actually pretty in awe of myself that I was able to take out sugar and processed foods, things that I had eaten for 30 and 40 years, right? That takes something deep down inside. And it was a desire to be well. And it was an honest conversation with myself that in order to get well, I had to do things differently. And that meant that I was going to be uncomfortable for a little while. So I just did it. And I had 100% belief that it was going to be a huge contributing factor to me being well, to changing that course, the path that I was on of disease. So that number one thing was, focus on what you can have. You're going to still look in people's grocery carts. You're going to still count the cars maybe that are going through a drive-through when you're going home to prepare your healthy meal. All those things are normal. There's nothing wrong with you. It's absolutely normal. But in the end, you're going to really, really, really be so proud of yourself and thank yourself for having the grit to be able to make it through those tough days. And eventually what's going to happen is you're going to see that your way in making positive changes in what you put into your body is actually the right way. It's the way that everybody should be. The whole world should be making these great choices in what we eat. Lots of other things, right? But I'm a nutritionist, so I'm telling you about food. And so from my perspective, I look out to the world and I see a lot of people not making very good decisions. And I used to look out into the world and be envious, and now I look out into the world and I think, I wish that more people knew that their body deserves to be treated in the highest regard. And that when we do this, that the body can absolutely heal, given the right conditions, the right circumstances. And that was the first truth, right? Can the body heal? And the body can heal. But it does depend on our participation. And so I hope that this is helpful. I know it's a tough topic. If you have comments or questions, absolutely send them out. I'd love to just open a dialogue about this because it's a real issue with people that are trying to get well and do the right thing and have a hard time. So anyways, I hope you guys have a great rest of the week and we will see you soon.